We're back for another Apollo podcast. Today, this week, joined by Natasha Mina. Now, Natasha, I'm not going to go through the stuff that you do and the awards you've won because there's a long list. So I want you to just go through sort of your trade and the experiences and stuff you do.
Yeah, so it is a long list, so I'm not surprised you don't want to reel it out. It used to be just one thing. I used to be a lawyer. I used to just say I'm a lawyer and that's it.
Wow. This is why I'm loving this conversation because we've known of each other for a long time, for a while now, since you've been doing some work with my dad. But we've never actually had a conversation like this. So for people when I've spoke to Seb, me and Seb have been close friends for a while, but me and you have never actually had a conversation like this. So even just learning...
things all just come out that I've even forgotten about. So I might not... This is like a non-exhaustive list. So I would say, first and foremost, what people know me for at the moment is This Girl Can. So every kind of region in the UK has an ambassador, someone that women can kind of go to, look up to, and... someone who will lead by example. So I'm a This Girl Can ambassador for Leicestershire and Rutland, which means I go to events, I make appearances and do public speeches as well, deliver kickboxing and yoga. So that ties into the next thing that I do. I've been doing kickboxing since I was 8 and I'm 29 now, coming up to 30. Still not grown though. So kickboxing and then yoga I found about just over 2 years ago, but it feels like it's been in my life forever. And then I went to India at some point, came back, became a yoga teacher, so now I deliver that as well.
When you went to India, is that where you learnt about yoga? Was that like a experience of just travel or education as well?
It was purely for the education. I'll explain that. There's a whole big story around that, so I'll explain that a little bit later. But that was purely to go kind of get away. I know it sounds cheesy saying find yourself, but I just needed to heal. I just needed to go away, heal, and come back with an achievement because I like to achieve things.
Of course.
Which you'll notice. And
you've been part of a Channel 5 documentary as well. Awards you've won. Was it the Leicester Mercury Award? That was recently. You've got people might have seen it as well. There's a big painting of Natasha in town. So there's a long list of stuff. What with the yoga? So that's been a 2-year experience. So you started it 2 years ago.
I started it. In terms of yoga journeys, probably I would say late in life, just because I wish I would have done it a long time ago. But I went in just purely for my shoulders. After doing boxing and fighting, kickboxing for so many years, your shoulders can round off, and I just needed to open up. I needed to stretch, and I thought, I'm going to try this hot yoga thing because it's hot, it's sweaty, it sounds like a challenge, it sounds like fitness as well. And then I kept going. I thought, I love this. I came out feeling great, and then there was times when I was having, say, a bad day, and I thought, I'll crack on. I'll still go yoga because I always feel good. And I thought, there's got to be more to this. There's way more to this. It's not just a stretch. It's not a fitness class. And I noticed that the contrast of going kickboxing and wanting to be the best, challenge, pushing yourself through boundaries, and then going yoga where you're being told, back off, slow down, listen to your body. What does your body want? Listen out for things and don't look around. Don't compare. It's not a competition. So it was the complete opposite, and I think I really needed that kind of yin-yang balance in my life. So I was immediately hooked, and I just wanted to understand it more. And so I did. Went to India and come back qualified.
Wow. So, because there's some people do the qualifications. There's courses you can do within this country, and do you know where did yoga originate from? Is it is it India?
It is India. There's a massive, there's so much literature on it, and I would say that the best way to kind of explain it, to realise how big yoga is, everyone sees yoga in the Western way, like the physical practice, doing handstands, there's stuff you see on Instagram.
Yoga's become very Instagrammable, where with the right clothing, the right aesthetic, it's very, that sort of trend, which, I mean, it's not to put anyone down that does that, but I mean, like you just said there, that there is a lot more to it than that sort of Instagram aesthetic, the sort of origins of it.
I mean, even when I went abroad, when I went to India to learn it, the style of yoga that I went to learn is called Ashtanga, which is a Sanskrit term, and it means 8 limbs. So Ashta is 8, Anga is limbs. And I was drawn to it because Thai boxing, Muay Thai, is also called like the art of 8 limbs. And I found like a kind of mutual connection there. And what they mean by that is that the physical practice is just one limb to yoga. Like yoga means union. If you think in this life, our mind is in one place, our body's doing another thing, our heart is saying something else, our mouth is saying something else, and yoga just ties it all up. Not overnight, but you can feel yourself piecing all back together like this perfect little jigsaw puzzle. And it is a journey without a destination. I've always said that, you know, you just keep going, keep going, keep going. But 8 limbs, and I'm talking like the breath, the way of life, you know, the things you think, the things you say, the things you eat. So, I mean, it's near enough impossible to do all those limbs and live that true yogic lifestyle, but it's good to adopt some of the practices.
Because I assume as well, when you're talking about these different things that yoga stems off on, has that then had an impact on different decisions you make in your life? So you're vegan.
Yes.
How long's that been for? Did the yoga affect your decision to become vegan, or is that before?
Yeah, I went vegan before actually. Normally it's the other way around. And I actually started out for health reasons. I'd already got used to making weight for fights, and I, you know, came to know that you can lose weight in loads of different ways. You can lose weight eating McDonald's every day if you really want, you know, as long as your calories are underneath what you're spending.
Numbers,
yeah. So, and then I thought, okay, I'm eating well. I was prepping my meals. I was eating like turkey burgers and rice and chicken and that every day. And then I thought, how can I clean this up even more? You know, I'm always trying to tweak my life and try and just make it better because it's growth. I've got a growth mindset. And I started looking into it, looking at how different foods affect the body. And then I started looking at meat and digestion. And I thought, okay, do you know what? I'm up for anything. I'll give it a go for a week and just see how I feel. And even just a week of just taking the meat away, I started feeling like actually I feel less sluggish, and I can kind of do without it. I was already not drinking milk, just for calorie purposes. I was already on like almond milk and things like that, so it wasn't really that hard. But I did go from meat eater to vegan like overnight, and just kind of stayed with it. And then over time, the reasons broadened.
Yeah, because a lot of people are normally suggested to sort of ease into that process, and it is normal. I mean, with anything as well. So if you're somebody that drinks a lot of alcohol and has a problem with alcohol, they normally say eventually bring it down. So for you you was just a straight bang.
Yeah, I'm all or nothing. I've done it all. I've done it all my life. I'm all or nothing. You know, if I do something, I do it wholeheartedly. I don't. For me, I can't do things on the fence. I will throw myself in it, or I don't. Although recently I'm learning to dip my toes in, see how I feel, rather than getting kind of overloaded with all this stuff.
Are you still competing within kickboxing? Because just to give everyone an insight, when did you first start kickboxing?
Started kickboxing when I was 8. I was a tomboy, you know, growing up. Egyptian family, don't know if you know that bit.
No.
And of course, I was raised by my mum, which is the Egyptian side. So with any kind of family from that area of the world, like the rules are so strict, you know, especially with girls. You know, we're really kind of restricted in what we can and can't do and who we should and shouldn't be. And I mean, my mum was pretty westernized, to be fair, but she would respect her parents, and her parents had desires for me as well. You know, learn how to cook, learn how to clean, become a wife, and that was it. That is the end goal for a woman. But I was just so, I used to watch boxing as a kid. My mum said, you know, I would be 2-3 years old, and if they changed the channel when Prince Nassim was on, I would kick off, you know. And I don't remember that. I remember watching, but I don't remember why. I don't remember what drew me to it. I was so young, but they remember. When they tell me this, you know, it gives me shivers because it makes me think, you know, when you're a kid, I don't know if you've ever read the book The Alchemist.
Yeah, I've read that.
But yeah, it says about when you're a kid, you know your desire, you know your purpose, and through life we lose it because all these excuses and things and reasons come in your way.
It's so true. I mean, if you were to speak to so many different people out there now in their 20s or in their 30s and say, what did you want to do when you were a kid? That probably have a completely different answer to what they're doing today. And sometimes they might get to their 20s or 30s and eventually find that.
Yeah.
I think because you're so innocent, and we do, as a child or even teenagers, we feel like it's more acceptable to have those dreams and them goals.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, it's more like, okay, get back to reality.
Do you know what it is? We just lose our instincts, and there's something... in my job before lockdown, I was going around to schools delivering kickboxing to girls who were just not interested in PE. And a lot of the time it was their lack of belief in themselves. I can't do press-ups, I'm not strong, I can't do these things.
They've invented these girl press-ups now,
yeah,
haven't they, as well?
I get that right out of their minds. And what I always bring them back to is who they were as a baby. And I always tell them a story. I say, do you remember when you first learned how to walk? Like, if I even ask you, do you remember?
No.
You don't,
no.
right? So who taught you?
Mm-hmm.
Who taught you?
I mean, I assume my parents just said walk, but how do you...
Do you know what it is? These giants, they're all around you. They're walking, and you're a kid. You're crawling around. You look. You want to move. You want to move faster like them. You want to get up. So you start trying, and it's instinct. I want to travel. I want to move. I want to progress. This is an instinct that we had. Yeah. And you start, and you're probably in your nappies, you're trying to stand, you fall over, you've got all these giants around you laughing. They love you, they want you to do it, but they're also laughing because they find it funny.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't feel embarrassed. You didn't give up. Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine if we had the mindset now, like, imagine a baby having our mindset. We would have a generation, we'd have a world of people that walk, and a world of people, and some people that crawl.
Not afraid to try
we'd
new
have
things.
a whole new class system. Who would you hire if you were to, you run your business as you do now, and someone crawled into the interview, you go,
yeah,
because they give up, But the fact, and I tell the girls, the fact that you walked in tells me that you've got it in you, that you know how to persevere, you know how to push through, and you don't really care what other people think.
Yeah, it's a great way. No, it's a great way of looking at it. I just want to go back to the Channel 5 documentary. I just want you to, in your own words, explain to the people what that documentary was about, and your experiences with it.
To be honest, the documentary is about what my job is about. It's about what the mural is about. All of those things are interlinked. So where are we now? We're in 2020, so I'm thinking probably...
August. We're now.
August. Yeah. The whole year's gone. I think it was about 2018, something like that. It's all blurring now. And I had just gone through a 2-week court case where I had basically followed through with an allegation that I made against my biological dad. And alongside me was 3 others that were in my family that I hadn't seen for probably 20 odd years. We were successful, and he was found guilty of sexually abusing all 4 of us for numerous years. So my recollection went all the way back to when I was about 4 or 5. Whether it happened before, I'll never know. And it carried on up until I was about 12, 13. Wow. And then there was a little bit of a gap, and then he tried it again when I was 15. And then I was kind of old enough to go, I don't want to see him anymore. And I vanished. I just didn't go back to see him, because I used to go at the weekends, and that's where the abuse would happen. And of course, there's a whole journey, through that. When you're a kid and you don't know what's going on, this is your dad, you love your dad, you trust him, he's giving you affection, you feel special, he doesn't get that close to your brother, so maybe he loves you more, and all these kind of things. And also, something a lot of people don't talk about is the way the physical body responds. And the reason people don't want to talk about it is because they feel guilty. But even as a child, your body will respond positively to the molestation, like to the abuse. Yeah. So you're attaching reward to the abuse, and this is the sickening part of it all. But it needs to be said. And what I wanted to do when I went through the court case, and it was really, really hard. I won't say it was easy. It was really, really hard, but nothing good ever comes easy. And when he was found guilty, I had a screen the whole time through the court case. Couldn't see him. I hadn't seen him since I was 15.
Wow.
And I was about 28 or something at the time. And when he was found guilty, they said, You can have the screen again if you want. You don't have to go back to court. And I thought, no, it's done now. Like, I can go. This is my moment, you know. So I went to watch him get sentenced. I think he got like 12 years or something like that for all 4 of us, which is nothing really because he won't do all of them. But
no.
Victory is victory. And I was prepared for him to kind of slip out of this one as well because he's just one of them guys.
It happens a lot as well, doesn't it, with cases of sexual abuse, and it's crazy how much it does slip out, because I mean the sort of people that can commit them sort of things and get away with it so long are very manipulative.
Yeah.
And so when it becomes to the system and arguing their case, it's almost like familiar territory of manipulating people and manipulating the surroundings.
Yeah, well, you know, people always say, well, where was the mother? Don't you think they manipulate them too? Like, you know, all the mothers of all these kids, when we were kids, they trusted him. Do you know what I mean? They had their trust in him for whatever reason, you know, and the blame should never be on anyone else but him. And that's something that, you know, survivors of abuse have to remember as well, that the blame is never on yourself, it's on them. You know, don't carry their shopping bags for them, don't carry their burdens for them. That's for them to deal with, that's for them to live with. So at the end of the court case, there was media there, and they came over to warn us, like, you know, you're going to be anonymous, we are going to report it, but no one's going to know it's you. And you know when you get a gut feeling, like something was lumping up to say something, like no. And I got this feeling as if to say no, and no, don't make me anonymous. And then I had, you know, people that care about me saying, are you sure, like, about this? Like, this is a big deal. Like, there's the right to anonymity is there for a reason. Maybe, do you really want to relive this? Do you want the questions? Do you want the media? But I'd got to this point in my life. I'd spent 5 years in schools, at events. I had already impacted over 40 to 50,000 girls, females, women. And I thought, of all of them, how many have been through it? Because unfortunately, this is rife. This is really common.
The numbers are crazy when you look at it. The numbers.
I would hate to know the number. And I thought, do you know what? There needs to be a kind of a new image as to what does a survivor or a victim of sexual abuse look like. Because I only had one image in my head growing up, and that was my older sister who did endure it. No one believed her. And she died of an overdose of heroin when she was 26.
Wow.
And I was probably about 13 or something. And that was my experience. And then my kind of music growing up was Tupac, and I'm hearing Brenda's Got a Baby and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, do you know what? Okay, it's very clear, like 2 + 2 = 4, you know, like you go through this, you end up like this. I thought, is that where I'm going? Am I going to end up like this? But here's the difference. I had my mum, she's an extra character, a big character. Like, if anyone who's met her just once remembers her. And she has always told me, or made me believe, I'm different. Everyone in the world is different. We know this. We know everyone in the world is different. But when I say she was telling me I'm different, even though this is factually incorrect, she made me believe that you're different, Tasha, amongst the different. So you don't go down the path I've been through. And for that reason, I felt like I was invincible. I genuinely believe it. I've got to give thanks to her massively for that, because she even pushed me into kickboxing. You know, she kept driving me there. You know, she was busy, but she kept taking me there. My grandma and granddad saying, no, this is not for girls. She's taking me there. She's spending the money. She's buying me all the kit, my first punch bag. And as a kid, I was just so aggressive for it, you know. People used to say, why is she so aggressive? And no one knew. I'm channeling it, you know. But yeah, that's what the documentary is about, because stories have values, and every person, to me, every time I see a person, they're just a book of stories, you know, of how you are still alive. That's what we are. You know, and everyone's story has value, and everyone has to realise that. Same with Seb. That's what I said. Like, Seb's story, it has value. You know?
And that's one thing that you've definitely done now. When you say it like that, like a book, even because going back to what I said at the very start, we've never had that conversation, but I've seen you around in the gym, and it's like there's that value there without even speaking to you. It's like that's Natasha, but it's like, that's not just Natasha, just a body with no, it's the story, and it holds weight. It definitely holds weight when you put it like that, and what you've done, and the impact from what you've gone through to then push on to help others, with the yoga, with the kickboxing, and just with you being you as well, because we can use all these different tools with boxing, with the yoga, and that's one thing. They're the tools, but to actually have someone use a tool and really direct it straight into people, it's because even when you talk about certain stuff, we've spoke recently about the barefoot stuff.
Yeah.
So when you talk, many others will agree, and like myself, it's just I'm interested. I'm glued to it.
How come though? Like, it's nice.
To describe it. No, it's a good question.
Because I listen to you as well.
Yeah.
I think there's certain people in the world that can talk a certain way and capture people's attention.
Yeah, you're one of them with what you. But I think it's because you've lived it. You've really lived it, and I think what we spoke about earlier as well with the whole Instagram stuff, and we do live in a world now where, and I guess we're all guilty of it, where there is this image, and we can often end up talking about stuff we don't know much about. But when you're talking about changing people's lives, it's not something. To be honest, you don't really. I want you to see you on your Instagram talking about it all the time, but it's something you do.
Yeah.
Period. It's something.
People are aware of it.
Yeah. You don't go on your stories or go on your Instagram. You don't talk about today I'm going to change these many lives. It's something you do when you do talk, and you talk about yoga, and you talk about the kickboxing, and you talk about your experiences. By you actually doing that and putting your energy out there, you are changing lives by doing that, as opposed to saying you're going to do it. And that's what I find it amazing with you and your story.
Do you know what it is? I just see that everyone is like a candle with a flame, right? And when let's say you've got 1 million candles to light, your light has run out, but you have got one candle there, you're going to use that candle to light the rest, but that initial candle isn't going to lose the flame. And I think we've got this mindset because of the way the world works with finances, and it's like, keep everything to yourself, but by sharing, do you think since the day I started sharing my life and sharing my world, whether it's my love for kickboxing, because for example, like, I noticed that the biggest barrier for women in kickboxing and yoga to do anything physical was women. It was them, they were their own barrier, because they don't support each other, they don't champion each other, especially in combat sports. I've been places where the girls don't like each other because they're benchmarking themselves against each other.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm really proud that I've been able to create is girls who can train together, hold pads for each other, see someone have a really good kick or good punch and celebrate it. And that was missing. That was massively missing. Just that encouragement and stuff. So it's just one of them things, like, sharing it. It's all that's happened from that day is good stuff. Nothing. I've never gone backwards. Whereas back before, when I was thinking about status and being a lawyer and I didn't have a good life.
How long was you a lawyer for?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 years as a lawyer.
I hated it.
Did you really? What?
I hated it.
From the very start, it just wasn't an experience you enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, the legal world changed anyway. I think I was just always drawn to I don't even know the name, strong stuff. I was in a debating team, I was in a hockey team, I ran the societies at uni. I wanted to be a barrister, doing kickboxing. I used to lift weights, and it's just all these different things. I can see that you're a very active person. But I think it's all linked to the abuse, because you feel powerless, and all these things are things that make you feel powerful. So I think I was just drawn into them, not realizing kind of why. And the minute I realized, okay, well, this is my life. How do you want to spend it? Do you want 30, 40 years in a building where you have 20-something days holiday a year to do what you want to do? And I was like, no. And I was using my holidays, my paid holidays. I'm taking them days off because I was in Manchester at the time, and I'm zipping it down to Leicester to teach kickboxing on these event days for free.
Oh, okay.
And people are like, you're using your days off to go and work. I was like, no, it's not work.
No, your currency is making...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, being around other humans, making them feel good.
I loved it. And I remember I put on Facebook, I wish every day could be like today, and it came up in my memories, and I was like, every day is like that now.
Yeah,
I have got that life now where I don't have to answer to nobody. and I just do what is in my heart. The things I would do for free, I struggle to even charge. Do you know what I mean? I'm one of them.
Yeah. Do you think you will ever fight again?
Yeah.
Definitely going to fight again.
Yeah, I just need to rebuild my relationship with the sport. I think it got a little bit tied up in abuse. You know, once I overcame this, you know, big monumental hurdle in my life, I had that victory. All of a sudden, I had this big relief. And then I felt almost like a little bit soft and happy, and I didn't have this anymore. And I noticed that I had won a lot of my fights on pure aggression. And when you're younger, you can get away with that. But as an adult, you know, you've got to have the IQ. And so now that's why I've started to learn, go different places, learn off different people. And I think the problem was I've spent so much teaching, and you'll know this, when you teach, you don't learn as much. You're not practicing your own craft. No. You know, so I'm taking a little step back from delivering. Actually, I'm looking to create more deliverers to do that, keep the impact going, so that I can focus on my own training.
100%. I mean, if I was to go in the gym now and go on the pads with my dad, something like that, I mean, I'm coaching people every single day, but then if I was to go on the pads with him, I guarantee there'd be so many different things I'd get pulled up on a bit, and like you say,
especially with him.
Yeah, especially with him. And like you say, that isn't a bad feeling though. Sometimes it's good to have that feeling of, okay, I'm learning again, and with this, like you're talking about with life and the many different experiences, why is there a limit on when we stop learning? Same as boxing, kickboxing, and sports in general. It's just limitless the amount of learning we can get from it, which is amazing.
I've been going like right back to scratch. Like I've been going right back to the basic kick and perfecting it, and looking at kind of where my balance is, especially after working with Hudge. Like he showed me so much about your structure, you know, things I'd never really thought about. I'm like, oh, this is my stance and I'm cool here. And then he's like, actually, how can you make it better? And I learned loads that I can adapt into kickboxing, which I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I mean, kickboxing is interesting. It's not, I feel like it's not hit the mainstream. I'm wondering what it's, maybe does it need the characters a bit more in terms of mainstream sport, when people actually, like in a couple of weeks, people are going to pay to watch Dillian White versus Povetkin on box office. But boxing, I guess boxing has a history of developing fighters but developing characters where people sit down, going back to Nazim. It's like Nazim Hamid, the jump over the rope. I feel like kickboxing, I mean, it has its viewers and its popularity.
Do you watch much? Do you watch any 1FC or?
Any what, sorry? The
1FC?
No. I mean, I watch UFC, interests me. Yeah. But I mean, if there was a character in kickboxing who maybe just did some wild stuff.
Do you know what? There is some, but I think the reason it's not mainstream is like that it's a bit of a mess when it comes to the sanctioning bodies. You know, no one can sit around a table and go, there's no governing body for it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's the problem in boxing that we currently have, where you've got, the UFC is one brand, and if the two best fighters in the UFC, they get told to fight each other, they fight each other. Yeah. Whereas in boxing, there's several different promoters, several different governing bodies, and it's just a mess. Yeah. And that stops the big fights happening. I mean, it might come to a time when kickboxing has that breakthrough.
I mean, like when I see like taekwondo in the Olympics and stuff, and I think there was like talk of Muay Thai going into the Olympics.
Okay.
But it didn't quite happen yet. Can't remember why.
Yeah.
But it gives me hope. It will probably be out of my, my window.
Yeah. Fingers crossed one day. I mean, another thing, the hair's gone.
Yeah, man.
The hair's gone. Do you want to explain that to me?
Well, I saw how long yours was getting. No. Do you know what? This has been something I've wanted to do for ages. And I think a lot of girls, especially in the sport world, will just they'll be training, they'll just be like, I want to hack this off. And
even me.
Yeah, do you know what? I love it. And I think we do attach our identities to hair as well. But I thought to myself once, like, why am I holding on? And it's like for that one night out that I go on that's like in 3 or 4 months, every 3-4 months, I don't really go out. So I thought, and what's that for? Is it for other people? Is it for me? Is it for my mum? Is it for my Egyptian family? They love the hair.
Yeah.
And I thought, do you know what? It's temporary. It grows back, right? So what? Let me try it and just see what happens.
If it's more comfortable, if you prefer it. Then,
And then there's also, it felt like dead weight, it felt like emotional baggage. You know, that hair has been with me a long time. It's big and curly and stuff. And I think, you know what, fresh start, let's literally, you know, when you feel like the world's on your shoulder, let's get it off. Psychologically, we know that hairstyles can affect you, whether it's in the ring. Yeah, my fiance, he's not won a fight when he's had like hair on his head. Only when he's had his hair shaved off, he's won.
Wow.
So it's just one of them things that he has to do now. He has to shave his head off. So we've both got shaved heads.
Yeah, and we know as well, you made a good point there. People will, whether it might be a guy getting a skin fade, a girl changing her hairstyle. So that's ultimately what you've done is just that. You've wanted to do it, and you've gone and done it.
And it's symbolic, you know. If there's ever a moment in my day where I start thinking about what other people think when I'm making a decision for me, whether it's with my business or whatever, all I've got to do is take a look in the mirror and be like, Tash, you don't give a shit.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you've shaved it off. You don't care no more. You're 100%. You're present. You do what you've got to do.
100%. And I just want to say thank you for coming to Palm Tree Craft to talk to us. Really, for me, that was educational. Felt like I've learned a lot just within that conversation there and being around you in your presence. Thank you for opening up and talking about topics and subjects that are not easy to talk about at all. And I mean, you'll definitely be on again soon. We've got loads more to talk about. So thank you.
Nice one. Cheers.